Greetings. Walk with me for the next 10 minutes, if you will, and we will explore the need of chaplaincy in the field of education, specifically in the field of law school education. John 1:14 reminds us that God chose to dwell among us. God knew that we were in need. God knew that we were in crisis. And Jesus, our Savior, came to be born of man for us. In other words, God meets us where we are. God continues to meet us where we are. In a similar way, chaplains do not wait for those in need to seek them out. Instead, chaplains go where the crisis is. They go where the need is the greatest, and they carry with them compassion and hope into the very spaces where people are hurting. Chaplaincy in education is at the heart a ministry of presence. Alan T. Baker, in his book entitled Foundations of Chaplaincy, A Practical Guide, describes chaplains as those who carry the sacred into secular places. While Paget highlights the role of chaplains in embodying compassion, Galatians 6:2 reminds us to carry each other's burdens. In law schools, this means entering the very crucible where future lawyers are formed and being present at the intersection of ambition and exhaustion, offering a sacred counterweight to the relentless demands of the legal culture. Law schools are rigorous and competitive. The American Bar Association suggests that students devote at least 2 hours outside of class for every 1 hour of in-class time. That means a typical 15 credit load translates into 15 hours of class plus 30 hours of preparation and reflection after class. In total, that's a 45-hour workload. In addition, some students are working because they have families to support or because they don't have the financial aid or the means and need to work their way through. There's family obligations, there's personal obligations, there's a lot pulling on law students. All of that, in addition to heavy reading assignments, constant evaluation, and the pressure of grades and curb outs, and the result of stress and anxiety and isolation. Jesus said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Chaplains stand as living reminders of that invitation from Jesus, offering spaces of rest in a culture of exhaustion. Students are often far away from home, separated from their support systems, separated from their villages, separated from their churches. They face the fear of failing out, the fear of crippling debt, and the daunting anxiety building toward a 3-day licensing exam. 1 Peter 5:7 calls us to cast all our anxiety on the Lord because he cares for us. Chaplains embody that care, giving students a space to unburden their fears and allow themselves to lighten their load. The demands of law school go beyond academics. Students struggle with identity, belonging, while faculty have to balance teaching and research and scholarship and publication and personal lives. Naomi Paget calls chaplains the first responders of the soul. Psalm 34:18 affirms that the Lord is close to the brokenhearted. In law schools, chaplains embody this closeness, meeting people in their moments of brokenness. To serve well, chaplains must prepare carefully. They need contextual intelligence, that is, understanding the rhythms and the pressures of the law school environment and of the legal profession. Chaplains must be trained in pastoral care, crisis intervention, and interfaith ministry. Chaplains must also practice self-care. 1 Peter 3:15 calls to us, always be ready to give an answer, but to do so with gentleness and respect. This is the posture a chaplain must carry into the academic world. Chaplains minister most effectively through presence and listening. Confidential conversations, interfaith prayer spaces, and resilience workshops are all tools that chaplains can use. James 1:19 reminds us to be quick to listen and slow to speak. In a law school where students are constantly tested, chaplains provide the rare gift of simply listening. Best practices for law school chaplaincy include building trust, normalizing mental health conversations, and partnering with counseling services. Chaplains also step into moments of crisis, offering presence when tragedy strikes. Proverbs 31:8-9 commands us to speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. In law schools, chaplains defend the vulnerable and remind students that their worth is not in their grades. As a retired associate dean, a tenured professor, and a retired trial attorney, I know the truth of this old phrase: the law is a jealous mistress. It demands your time, your focus, your attention, your energy, and when you've given it all, it demands even more. Our profession has some of the highest rates of suicide and substance abuse. Jesus asked, what good is it to gain the whole world, yet forfeit your soul? That is the danger many lawyers and students and law school professors face. But Psalm 23:3 reminds us, he restores my soul and guides me along the right paths. This is where chaplains step in. They serve as instruments of restoration. They create spaces where law students, lawyers, professors can recover their humanity, find balance, and remember that their worth is not consumed by the jealous demands of the law, but sustained by the God who restores. This is why law schools need chaplains. Students need someone who can meet them in crisis, who can feed their hunger for meaning, and who can guide them with compassion. Jeremiah 3:15 promises shepherds after God's own heart, leading with knowledge and understanding. Chaplains become those shepherds in the halls of legal education. In conclusion, chaplaincy in law schools is about presence, compassion, and wisdom. It helps future lawyers flourish, not just as students, but as whole people. Michael 6:8 calls us to act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. That is the spiritual grounding chaplains bring into the formation of legal professionals. Thank you for spending the last few minutes with me and for giving me the opportunity to share with you why chaplains are critical in law school educational environments and in the legal profession.